Hello. In this example, we want to go ahead and solve an application question, a word problem. And again, rule number one, don't freak out. But there are other rules for word problems. First rule is to read the problem. I know it's kind of crazy. The second rule is to read the problem. That's a little bit weird. And the third rule is to read the problem. Okay, let's talk about what I mean by that. So the first read the problem is to just get a general feel about what the question is trying to tell us. The second time you read the question is after you've read it the first time, obviously, and you're going to start going through there and then writing down information from the question and drawing pictures if you can, labeling variables and all that good type of stuff, and then solving the question that you think is asked. And then that last read the problem is to read the actual question that was asked, not the entire question, but the question that was asked, to make sure that the answer that you are giving is actually answering the question that was asked. It's very easy to get those two wrong, or to get those two different. So it all depends on what you define your variable as. Okay, so let us read the question. At 9 a.m., a Class A motorhome began traveling due north at 65 miles per hour. 1 hour later, a Class C motorhome began traveling the same direction at 75 miles per hour. At what time will the Class C motorhome pass the Class A motorhome? Give your answers in a complete sentence. Okay, so with this, in your notes, we have something at the top here called distance, rate, and time. And the formula that we're given here is that distance is equal to the rate times the time. And I like to think of it as the DIRT formula, DRT, D equals RT. Excellent. Now, at what time will the Class C motorhome pass the Class A motorhome? Well, here's the thing. Let's go ahead and look through this very slowly and methodically. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the Class A motorhome. Began traveling due north at 65 miles per hour at 9 a.m. Then the Class C motorhome began traveling in the same direction, 75 miles per hour, and that was 1 hour later. And the question that we want to answer is, at what time will the Class C pass Class A? Okay, so notice that there are no variables defined for us. And because the question wants us to answer what time this occurs, we need to know how long will they be traveling. In other words, what's the time here? So I'm going to let little t equal the time. It's either going to be the Class A or the Class C motorhome traveled. And it all depends on what you want to do. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. But just for simplicity, I'm going to say that's when the Class A motorhome starts travel, or how long the Class A motorhome has traveled. Now, notice that if that's the case, then t minus 1 is the time the Class C motorhome traveled. The reason why is because the Class C began 1 hour later, which means it traveled a smaller amount of time than the Class A motorhome traveled. Okay, so that 1 hour difference is t minus 1. Okay, so what we want to know is when is the distance for the A equal to the distance for the B? And the reason that we know that is because they're both traveling due north. We want to know at what time will they have traveled basically the same distance. In other words, if that's the case, that would be when Class C is passing Class A, because Class C is traveling faster than Class A. Now remember, this Class A here began at 9 a.m. and the class C began basically at 10 a.m. Okay, so with that in mind, in the DIRT formula, D equals RT, distance for A is the rate of A, which is 65, times the time, which is just T. The distance for C will be the rate of C, which is 75, times the time that C has traveled, which is T minus 1. And then we just have the distance that A travels equals the distance that B travels. So just set this equal to this. So we have 65T is equal to 75, parentheses, T minus 1. Notice you can just distribute the 75 there. So the left-hand side is 65T equals 75T minus 75. Good. Now subtract the 75. That gives us negative 10T equals negative 75. And of course, divide by negative 10. So T is equal to 7.5. Positive 7.5. Good. Now again, T is the time the Class A motorhome traveled. But what was the question that we wanted to answer? At what time, not how long did they travel, but at what time will the Class C pass Class A? Well, if T is 7.5, what time is that? And remember, Class A began at 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. plus 7.5 hours. Well, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., that's 7 hours, so it's 4 p.m. plus a half an hour is 30 minutes, so it's 4:30 p.m. So that means that Class C passes Class A at 4:30 p.m. Excellent. Notice in all of this, I never cared what the actual distance is. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the time here, and the fact that the two distances are equal to each other. Alrighty, well, that's it for this example. I'll see you in the next one. Have fun.